Well, welcome to What's Up today. And you know, we're excited. We have a very serious program, but very informative as well. And with us today, we have none other than our Chief of Police with the Capitol Heights Police Department, none other than Chief Anthony Ayers. Welcome to the program today, Chief. I'm so happy to have you. And we have next to him his praying partner, none other than the chaplain himself, Dr. See, we're going to give you another title. Is that okay? Okay, we have Chaplain Walter Reed, and he's also a pastor, and he's working along with the chief, and they're going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing as far as the unity in the community. As you know and I know, that's what we all need. There must be unity in order for the community to flourish, and in order for everyone to know their part, you know, that they play, and then in their stand in their lane, we're going to have peace. Is that okay to say? Okay. Chief, I'd like to start with you today. I want you to share a little bit about yourself and how long you've been an officer. I know you served as an officer before Chief, and just give us a little background about yourself.
Well, first of all, I was born and raised in Prince George's County. I went to Bishop McNamara High School, and I grew up in Capitol Heights area, so I'm back home. I did 20 years with Prince George's County Police Department at District 3 Station, which is in Palmer Park. I was actually a cops officer, community policing officer. After retiring from the police department in 2010, I went to a short term over with the sheriff's department for like 6 months before I got the job and position as deputy chief at Capitol Heights. I spent like 6 months there as deputy chief, and then I was turned over as the chief of police there for the rest of the time. So I've been the chief for pretty much 5 years now in Capitol Heights.
So you have an awful lot of experience in this field of work. And Chief, what would you say as far as Capitol Heights area? What would you say as far, and with the chaplain and this program, many people like me, I had no clue that there were chaplains that worked along with the police department. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, ma'am. Well, there's a lot of chaplain corps across the country with large agencies and small agencies. I thought it was very important that Capitol Heights have a chaplain corps because I want my officers to be grounded. It's a stressful job, and it's very important that our officers feel comfortable when they go out there and do their job, because they have problems at home sometimes, and also they see a lot of things that normal people don't need to see working as an officer. So to have a chaplain corps there to help my officers ground themselves is very important to me. And so I started off with 1 or 2, then I ended up with 7 chaplains. So I have a large chaplain corps.
That's wonderful. And so, Chaplain Reed, tell us a little bit about your job. What do you do?
Well, we goes in when, like I said, Chief said, when his officers have problems, when there's family issues in the community, there's death in the community, or we go in, or with, we have fellowship with the seniors. We have what they call the day with the chaplains, dinner with the chaplains, and we go up and whatever goes on in Capitol Heights that's pertaining to the citizens, the chaplains goes. You know, if there's something just a fair or something that's happening, we go.
Okay, and so I'm sure prayer is very, yes, and especially as you say, the officers, you know, people don't realize sometimes the danger that they face every day. I mean, they wake up, you know, and to go to work mean that they may not come back home, you know, and God forbid that happen, but this is the stress they're under each and every day that they go out to work. And so they have a chaplain base, knowing that people are praying for you while you're out there, it's got to be a comfort. And also when they have personal problems at home, you know, it's good to have someone they can, a confidant, someone they can confide in that won't, you know, leak it out, you know, and so I like that about the Corps, you know, the chaplain corps. I like that, and I also appreciate that. I'm sure you can start your day with prayer. You know, when you all meet, do you have prayer
all the time
meetings?
All the time.
And how frequently do you meet?
Well, our chaplain corps meets once a month. And then they can actually meet with their officers anytime they want to. After hours, I told my chaplains to take them fishing, take them to the movies, do things with them, take them to dinner, because I want them to have a good relationship with their officers and a good relationship with their chaplains, because it's very important that they feel comfortable, because you can't open up to someone that you don't feel comfortable with. So it's very important they do things after hours and off hours to go ahead and actually feel comfortable.
Yeah. Without sharing any names, what has been one of the most memorable encounters that you've had with one of the officers, Count?
The
chaplain?
day that the young man was killed, and Chief called us. I had just walked in the house from
No,
church.
because some
Okay.
listening today may not be aware what young man you're making reference to.
I can't remember his name right now, the officer that got killed.
Okay.
Yes. And that day when he called the chaplains to come over to the hospital, you know, to see such a unity and to be received as they were towards us, it's like we was just, as God said, you're set apart. We was like we was set apart, because as we came up, there was prayer.
Oh,
It was
good.
it's just the fellowship of it all.
The comfort
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
Holy
to know
Spirit.
that, you know, God can use you in any position
Yes.
and anywhere you are. And the good part of it all is to know that you're willing
Yes.
to be. I was elated when Chief offered the position to me,
Amen.
you know, and to be in the community where it is, in my neighborhood, and to know that the officers, they even come to our churches in fellowship.
They do.
Yeah, so.
That's wonderful. Now, how do you get the community to come and get on board with the vision?
Well, we had a big program this past September. We had a prayer visual where we did it right in front of the police station, where our chaplains came out and prayed for the town and prayed for our
Wow.
officers, and we had citizens come out to that. Also, every event we do, we have the chaplains be a part of it, which is very important, because we want to make sure that prayer is in the community, that people will see that we are faith-based pretty much. You know, we don't go ahead and shun anybody else's religion, but I think it's very important that if I believe in something, I stay grounded. And I think my chaplains ground me, because I am an individual, I am a human being that makes
Yes,
mistakes.
yes.
And I need the forgiveness all the time. I need to go ahead and be grounded to a point where I know that I need to do better next time. So my chaplain corps does that for me.
Oh,
And
that's
do it
quite
for the other
humbling.
officers.
That's
Right.
very good.
Amen.
When a man knows that wisdom comes from God,
That's right.
and you use, you know, the resources that you have to consult with the chaplain who is in tune and have the ear of God. That's so important. It can make a big difference between a nervous breakdown.
Right.
You know?
And you got to realize that when you do positive things and the things that you are taught as a Christian to do, the devil would taunt you. And so you have to have your armor on at all times. And
Go ahead
my
now.
chaplain corps is my armor, and the
Yes.
armor for my officers too, because when you do the right thing, he will attack you. And that's why it's very important that you have people pray over you all the time.
That is important.
Yes.
And while you're out there and about, to know that they're on the sideline keeping you covered is so important. I think many officers would probably be alive today and would not have had those nervous breakdowns and some of the depression that some of them have gone through had they had that basis, that foundation,
Right.
you know, being laid and that outlet, you know, that's got to be paramount to every officer that's within your agency. Oh, well, you wouldn't say agency, your department.
You got to realize that we are small. Our department is very small. We only have 11 officers. And when you have a small department with a small budget, you can't afford to have a therapist on call like you have a large department.
Go
I
ahead.
came from a large department that we had a crisis team a part of our department. But when you have a small agency like ours, we can't afford it. So what we did was we went ahead and put in a component which can ground my officers and have somewhere for my officers to go when they have problems or concerns. Because you got to realize they're human beings. They have problems at home like everybody else do. They go through divorces. They go through deaths in their own personal families. And you want these officers to be grounded when they go out in the street, because if not, you see the end results. We have a lot of walking time bombs out there as officers that are very stressed out there. Every little thing makes them explode. You can't have an officer explode like that, because you got to realize we can't make mistakes like that. And when you see it on TV where a person continues on hitting someone when they give up, that's stress. And so I know this, so I want to make sure that my officers are stress-free or have where to go to decompress themselves, because if they can't decompress, they're walking time bombs. It's like taking a soda can and shaking it up,
It sure
and you hit that top, they're going to explode. So it's very important that we have some kind of way to diffuse that, and our
That's
chaplain corps
good.
does that.
Chief, you begin to go where I want to go. You know, we don't want to act like there is not a problem in the community and with some officers, and we know that they have had many racial profiling, and we've seen where in many communities where officers have shot innocent people, and then there were some shootings that after investigating, it was legit, okay? However, lives are important. Can you share a little bit, and I'm glad that you're open and you can be transparent, but people need to know just what an officer, okay, he gets up in the morning, he has not time to, well, who am I going to confront today? There's no warning. They can go to do an eviction and someone can just come out shooting. So, the officer has to be given a little grace here because he's going on a scene and he doesn't know what to anticipate. Share a little bit about that, and then how do in the training that they get, what are some of the things that can help a police officer be calm when they approach a situation, as well as the citizens not to jump to the conclusion that this officer is out to get them? How do we work the two?
Well, it's you have to hit from all angles. And first of all, let's go back to training and actually selecting the officer. I think it's very important that our selection of our officers is a little bit better because, like I tell people all the time, I think the police department is not just a career. Being a police officer is a calling. Not everybody can do this job. So it's very important that we go ahead and select the right individuals. Also, we have to make sure that we train these individuals to understand where they're going to serve. It's very important that they understand the culture, understand the way people float, move. I think it should be a piece in training to actually let the individuals get a little education piece on how people interact with each other in that community they have to serve, because it's kind of hard for a person to serve an area that they're not used to or they're going to grow up in, because everybody has biases. And I talk to people about biases all the time. Everyone has it. And it's okay to have bias because bias is your first line of defense, because you should fear things. You should not sure things or get yourself uneasy about things, because that's your first line of security for your body. But at the same time, when you start acting on your biases without thinking or to have all the facts, that's when it comes prejudice.
Right.
And so it's very important that you understand there's a fine line, and you have to understand that everybody has it. So how you fix that is by letting the officers be aware that they do have biases, and understand how to control your biases, and understand how you can work around it to make sure you're still safe, but at the same time you serve people the correct way. And the way they do is by education and training. Second of all, once we get them in, we have to train people how to use their words, how to understand how to diffuse situations instead of escalate situations by their verbal communications. Because I see a lot of officers sometimes will escalate things about their tone of voice or how they come out with their words. Some words are trigger words for people. That's why it's very important you understand the culture where you are, because sometimes words can actually ignite a situation that can go from here to here. So we got to talk about that. Also, making sure your officers know how to do different takedowns without doing all this aggressive punching, kicking, and stuff like that. I think it's very important they understand their craft, understand how to do a takedown, how to do different things, because sometimes we don't train enough. You resort to guerrilla warfare, or you just go ahead and all in the air and I just do what I want to do. And that's when you get the chokehold, that's when you get the punch in the face. So it's very important that we train constantly in reference to our techniques. I don't think we do enough of that. Another thing is to keep our officers grounded. It's very important that we have some kind of way to get our officers therapy when they need it. And our first line supervisors have to be strong. I think that's what's weak across the whole country. Our first line supervisors, our sergeants, our corporals, and our lieutenants, we don't do well enough to identify issues within the roll call or know our officers, because it's very important that you understand your officers' personal life as well as on the street, because you can read this. There are signs before you put them out on the road. A lot of times people say, well, that's my boy, he's all right, let him go out there, but he just had a fight in the roll call room. Why are we putting him on the street? So it's very important that you see a person having a bad day, or they're going through a divorce, or they're going through a child custody dispute. They are having some issues that you see that, and the signs are there. Why are we putting them on the street? So I hold my supervisors very responsible for that. They need to go ahead and read my officers and understand, can he or she go on that street today? If not, send them home. And a lot of people say, well, you're going to be short. I'd rather be short now on the front end than be short later on when he's out because he shot someone, he's out because he's on an investigation. You're going to be short anyway. So it's very important you get in front of that wheel. So those are things that we can do to help that. Then also educating our citizens. Educating our citizens on how to stay calm when the officer stops you, because the officer reads body language. So the more you throwing your arms around, the more you putting your hands in your pocket, more take it out, the more you're being defiant, the more you're going to get them edged up, because there's nothing on your forehead saying that you're a good person or a bad person. So we have to figure you out. The more you move around, the harder we are to figure out if you're the right person or the wrong person, or a person that is going to harm me or not harm me. So the more calmer you are as a citizen, the easier and faster it would go through. Now, I'm not saying there's no bad officers out there. I'll be the first one to say they are. But at the same time, I can't pick and choose who go out there and serve you, and you can't pick and choose who going to come to serve you as a civilian.
Sure.
But it's very important that you stay calm, don't resist, and go along with the program. Also, understand and educate yourself on how to make a complaint on a bad officer.
That's what I was.
So you have to arm yourself with that knowledge to understand how to complain on bad officers.
You don't need the badge number.
You don't need the badge number.
What you need to?
Time and location.
That's it.
Time and location, because we know who's on the street working. We know who's went to that call. If a person was called out there, we know who went on the call. We know what squads are working. So it's very easy to find out who the person is. So to go ahead and start saying, I want to know your name, what's your name? You just go ahead and igniting that fuel to the point where it's going to explode. Because now he might get more aggressive, she might get more aggressive with you. It's unnecessary. Stay calm, understand, as long as you know your location and what time, they can put photo sprayers in front of you. They know who's working out there. So stay calm off of that, because that's a trigger word. We say, well, I want your name and badge, you know. For me, I'm fine. I give you my name and badge. But maybe you get that bad officer, don't want to give it to you. Now you just escalate a situation and it gets out of control. So I'm trying to teach people how to make it home. I'm not saying that, you know, bow down and don't do anything. Understand you got to pick and choose your battles, because you got to realize you want to win the war. You might lose that battle right then and there, but you won't win the war later on by staying alive, staying free, not being locked up. I do a role play program with kids a lot and some adults where I show them how to do this technique to show them how it does work, because sometimes people are saying, well, it doesn't work when you stay calm, it's going to mess with you. Yeah, but guess what? You're still going to walk away and you still be alive. That's the whole part, is to educate the civilians, educate our officers, make sure our officers are well trained, make sure they're grounded, and make sure that we can go ahead and coexist, because we have to coexist. And I think the more the officers go out there to schools, the more the officers engage with citizens by getting out the car, the more we can go ahead and know who belongs, who don't belong by getting out your car and talk and communicate. Like seeing some kids on the corner. Why wait till they get in trouble before you engage them? Get out your car, engage them, and say, hey, fellas, how was the basketball game? What school you go to? You play basketball. You know, you're forward, you know, oh, good. You want to play basketball next time I come around here and play basketball with you? That little interaction makes them feel like, you know, they understand that you as a human being. So when it's time you come back and say, hey, Kevin, you know his name now, do me a favor, get out the car. All right, Officer Tony. Because you build a relationship with people. I don't think officers do that enough. We need to get out of the cars instead of riding around and saying, well, the only time I'm going to stop and speak to him is when he's in trouble. No, we have to engage people beforehand. Yeah,
you remember Officer Friendly?
Yes, ma'am. So I encourage my officers to go into schools for that purpose, because when the officers on day work, I encourage them going to our feeder schools, which is, you know, Capitol Heights Elementary School, you know, Dawsworth Brooks, you know, Walker Middle School. So I want them to go into schools so the kids get to know them on a personal basis. So when we do have to engage them, we can call them by name, or they can know who we are.
Yes. And they won't feel threatened.
Right.
If I could inject in that, Chief has a program they call Ride with the Chief during the summer.
Is that
where
right?
You get your bike and you just get out and you ride. Anybody that's in the community can meet him, and they just ride all through if they can keep up pretty much.
Right.
I tell you, that's great. That's great. Now, let's say we have people that are listening today and they want to get involved, you know, with unity in the community, but they're not in Capitol Heights. What would be their first line of communication? Should they call their precinct and see what's available with chaplains? And
yes, well, all areas have community days and community events. That's how the best way to get engaged, because you want to go ahead and find out where your nearby police stations are and work with them to have community days, because it's a good way for the citizens can mingle with the officers so they can build relationships, because that's the key for having a healthy community, by engaging each other in a positive light. Instead of only time you see me is when something's gone wrong or some tragedy happened. You want to see people on a better light. So when you have these community days, it's excellent to engage with your officers, and the kids get to meet them, the parents get to meet them, and you have now a community instead of a group of people that don't want to see each other until something happens.
Right, that's good. Do you still offer the Explorer program where, could you explain a little bit about
Yes, well,
that?
we have Explorer posts here in Capitol Heights. Also, each district station for Prince George County has Explorer posts.
Share with the viewers what that's all about.
Well, Explorers are under Boy Scouts of America, and what it is that girls or boys can come in to learn how to become police officers if they want to go into that field. And they're from the age of 13 up to 21. And what we do is we teach them skill sets to move them in the direction of law enforcement. They want to go that way. They actually learn to go ride-alongs with officers and learn how to fingerprint the whole 9 yards. And we have a lot of competitions, and sometimes, especially Prince George County, they take them to the nationals where they compete with other explorers across the whole country. So it's a fun thing. The kids enjoy it. Our kids, we do community services. Our kids go out there and feed the seniors. They go out there and do cleanups. At the same time, they learn things, they learn trades and stuff. We find them jobs and stuff. So it's a very good thing for parents to get their kids involved.
Amen. Well, that is so good. And Chaplain Walter, how long have you been the chaplain with the Capitol Heights Police Department?
I've been with them 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
Amen. And would you trade that?
No, I wouldn't.
No.
You know, but to be able to interact with the people as well, you know, you get to meet a lot of people and you get to bring people to Christ.
That's what I see you as a mediator, where you bring the officer and the community together under Christ,
Yes.
you know, with God being the center.
'Cause that's the sole foundation.
Yeah, and that is so great. You know, I appreciate you both coming on the program today, especially, you know, the transparency. We know that a lot has happened, and I believe that from this interview, people will better understand how to conduct themselves in dealing with officers, and they also understand the role of the officer. And like you said, we have some bad in every situation, but we don't say all teachers are bad because we've had a few bad ones, you know, and we can't say all our police officers need to be killed, you know, you know, because of a few bad apples. But we do want to work on the problem and bring the community and the unity together. I just love that. Oh my goodness. And so I want to thank you for coming on. And if someone wants to get in touch with you, Chief, what's a way of doing that?
Well, the best way to get in contact with me is call my station. And the telephone number for the station is 301-420-2444. Leave a name there, or 9 times 10 I'm there, and you can get in contact with me, and I'd be happy to come out to any organizations to help them out with role play programs and stuff, talking to the youth as well as the adults.
Okay, sounds good. And what about you, Chaplain?
Well, you can always reach me on 240-463-2734, and I have no problem with coming anytime, day or night.
Amen. And that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being on today. I appreciate you both so very much. And we'll be right back with more What's Up. I'd certainly like to thank you for watching What's Up today. And at the end of the screen, you'll find additional information if you want to get in touch with any of our guests. And again, I want you to know that Kenny Vines is here, that music minister, and he's going to take us off with Receive Him Today. Thank you for watching.
Hallelujah. God is waiting on you to receive Him today. Listen. Receive Him today. Receive Him today. Jesus is waiting. Receive Him today. No matter what the problem, Jesus